Alright, what's up, guys? So, this week, along with our week 3 discussion board activity, I decided to do the first activity, kind of talking about we looked for a psychological study, kind of where they had to implement the scientific method and stuff. And I actually learned quite a bit through doing this. I found an article on Time Magazine from Time Magazine by Amanda Loudon, and it's entitled "How to Set Goals You Actually Achieve." And halfway through reading this, I was thinking about the scientific method, and I kind of realized the process of setting goals and working through achieving them and actually getting to achieve them is basically the scientific method. So the 7 steps of the scientific method are making an observation, asking a question, forming a hypothesis or a testable explanation, making a prediction based on the hypothesis, test the prediction, and iterate. Use the results to make a new hypothesis prediction. So I was thinking about like the example that they used here, like running a marathon or just getting off the couch a little more. Like that's the first step of the scientific method. You're gonna make an observation. Like, well, you realize I'm not being as active as I want to be, or I'm not running, or I'm spending too much time on the couch. They're making an observation. They're asking a question. Is there something I can do about this? And then you set a goal, and that's where you put it into action. And you make a hypothesis. If I get up and run a mile every day, will that bring me closer to my goal of spending less time on the couch? That's just an example. So I'm just gonna go through this article. I just had a lot that I liked, so I was just gonna talk about it. But so the first section they have is she says pick a specific realistic goal, which we all know. But I like that this video is about setting goals that you'll actually achieve. I think a lot of us, me included, we set goals and they go nowhere. Like we go halfway. But she talks more about it in here about how like we can set a goal that we're actually going to achieve. She says, for the majority of people, setting a goal is one of the most useful behavior change mechanisms for enhancing performance. And that was said by Frank Small, a professor of psychology at the University of Washington. He says it's highly individual, and there's only one way to achieve a goal, but these goal-setting strategies will help you stay on the course. And so she goes through them. So she talks about how like when we set a goal, sometimes we set goals too high and we get scared, or we set goals too low and then we kind of just don't think much about it, and then we just don't get motivated. We are not motivated to finish it and go through with it. So we have to pick a specific and a realistic goal. Nothing too big, nothing that we're just gonna achieve in seconds, but like a realistic goal that will actually help us improve in some sort of way. Whether it's we want to do well in college, or whether we want to pay off all our debt, or whether we want to start running more, or we want to run a marathon. We got to set a realistic goal, something that we know we're actually going to be able to do. And then step 2 is to create a plan of attack, and that's where you're starting to like implement your hypothesis. You're starting to test things and like that, and that's the 5th step of the scientific methods, where you test it. So whenever you set one goal, you should actually set 2, a process goal and a product goal. And that's something I didn't know before. I didn't know that there was 2 different parts in setting one goal. She gives an example. Aiming for a 4.0 grade point average would be a product goal, which is the ultimate objective. A process goal would outline the steps it takes to get there. While the product goal gets all the attention, the process goal is equally vital. So the process goal is what gets you there. That's testing hypothesis. And then the product goal is your result, what you have at the end. And I thought that was super interesting because that's the scientific method right there. So she talks about this guy named Jason, I can't say his last name, Bahamundi, who's completed 8 Ironman races and 30 ultra marathons. And he sets a process goal before every race. He says, I think a lot about the training, the timing, and the cost of what I'm undertaking. He says, if I can think about the challenge and then work backwards, I'm successful. So think about where you want to be. And that's when scientists are working with the scientific method, and they have a place, like a vision of where they want to be when their experiment is done. And then they work backwards through their experiment. That's what it is. Like that's the whole point of making a hypothesis, because you want to know where you're going to end up. So the next step after that is to be accountable to yourself and others. Setting the goal is the fun part. Sticking to it is tougher. You'll hit barriers and fears. So accountability is important, especially at the beginning. Having a mentor, a partner or social accountability will help you to reach a sticking point. So there's all these things that will help you to get there. There's all these tools that you can use and people around you to help you to achieve your goal. And you're definitely not going to want to if you let somebody in on this goal, hey, I want to do this. And if you've done that, then you're telling them, hey, I don't want to go back. I don't want to give up on this goal like I do with every other goal, So I thought that was pretty good. This person, she talks about like a mentor or a helper, whoever you have to help you achieve this goal. This person can help you by defining clear expectations, focusing on performance, and monitoring progress. Honoring your patience will be helpful as well. Remind yourself that achieving a goal takes persistence, drive, and resilience. Set your expectations that it will be harder and take longer than you expect. So keep your expectations where they need to be. Like, that's how it is for every scientist. With any experiment, anything that was ever discovered, any hypothesis that was ever tested, you gotta be patient. You gotta have the right expectation for how long it's gonna take. Because I'm sure many experiments, many implementations of the scientific method done by scientists have taken probably years. So you just have to have real expectations, especially with setting a goal. The last thing, this was my favorite part. She says, find joy in the process. She says, savoring how it feels to chase the goal is useful for maintaining motivation long term. I thought that was good because, I think my problem with goals is, and we all have different problems, and some of them are similar, but I think my problem with goals is finding that joy in it, the maintaining the motivation long term. I think I can be motivated at the beginning, but it's kind of hard to stick with it. So she says, so Brad Stulberg, a performance coach and co-founder of Growth Equation, said most people cycle through 3 stages: the grind of putting your head down and doing the work, the anger and feel of failure, and enjoyment. But finding joy and showing up for the work is essential throughout the whole process and shouldn't be left for the end. Before you take on a goal, visualize the process and how it makes you feel. If you become tight and constricted, it's probably not the right goal or time. If you feel open and curious, that's a good sign. So I just thought that was pretty huge. And what I learned from this, I just learned that if I want to make a goal that I'm going to really want to achieve, I got to be specific with it. I got to be realistic with it. I got to find motivation long term. And just my question for you guys is, for number one, what do you think is, for you personally, could use help? I don't know what I'm trying to say. What in your goal setting process, like what you do when you're setting a goal, what do you think as a part of it needs work? And second, how do you think you can change that? How do you think you can make it better? Because that's kind of what I learned from this. But anyways, thanks for listening. I just learned a lot from this, and I would highly recommend the read. But yeah.